Coming up on Tekzilla, internet by the megabyte. Get your wallet, people. Robert's almost ultimate home theater PC kills static before it kills your PC. And the new release is on Blu-ray for the week of December 7th, 2010. So get to the Olympia before your cousins do and grab your favorite spot on the couch, because Tekzilla starts now. This episode of Tekzilla is made possible by Belkin, Unleash Your Network, Nokia, and HostGator, Green Energy Web Hosting. Get 20% off your order with the Revision 3 discount. I'm Patrick Norton.
I'm Robert Heron.
Welcome to Tekzilla, hands-on reviews of the latest tech and how to make the most out of the gear you've already got.
Hey, whether you're a beginner or tech support for your friends and family, if you've got a question about tech or the best place to adopt a pet in the Bay Area, we've got an answer for you.
And if we don't, we'll track down someone who does. Before we move on, the crew here at Revision 3 wanted to make a difference this holiday season, so we partnered up with Charity Water.
Clean water is one of the scarcest resources in the world, and nearly 1 billion people don't have access to it. Most of us take clean water for granted. Grab a glass, put it under the faucet, turn on the tap, and drink safely. No worries about walking to the next village to pick up a day's supply of H2O, catching a nasty disease, or poisoning your child.
Charity Water builds wells, and they donate all 100% of the money they raise to build wells and bring clean water to communities in need. Now, if the Tekzilla crew can raise $5,000, and we're halfway there, we can build a well and provide clean water to a village for 20 years, at least. I've donated. We hope you'll donate too. If everybody that watches Tekzilla donated just $1, we could easily build 20 or 30 wells.
How cool would that be? You can donate anonymously, or you can sign up for a Charity Water account and track where your money goes. You can also leave comments, like this one from Brian, who donated $10. Quote, "I know it's not a lot, but seriously, I can think of less important things I've spent $10 on. Can you?" Every show on Revision 3 is reaching out to viewers to raise money to build wells. We need your help to make a difference. Please go to revision3.com/charitywater to learn more and to help bring clean water to people in need.
Thank you for your support. Hey, we got a great email from Bogdan in Romania. Did you see this one?
No.
This is crazy. He says, I'm a little behind watching the episodes, but if you've never presented this, maybe it'll be interesting. It's rationalcraft.com/windscape.html. It's crazy. Bogdan in Romania, this is awesome. He said the motto on the if you look at the page, right? We're looking at the page right now. You can see the page at home. The motto on the top says, waking up in the same place every morning is boring. And as you can see in the YouTube video that's rolling, the custom Windscape software powers a pair of HD plasmas behind a pair of fake windows. In this case, with a beautiful view of basically the Golden Gate Bridge taken from a national park that you can't live in. What makes this really trippy is apparently it's designed to work with a device that attaches to the viewer's head, which is what makes Windscape kind of seriously slick. It alters the view on the two screens to match the angle or direction your head is pointing at.
Totally.
So that it actually looks like a real perspective view.
So now you got to wear a dongle as you walk around the house in order for your view to look right. But
you wear a dongle when you walk around your house?
I do. It looks good, though. I have to admit, as crazy as that is, putting two plasmas behind your window or outside the windows, it looks pretty cool. Maybe good for basement dwellers.
Or for for your bolt hole, your little safe room when the zombie apocalypse hits.
All right. Hey, two stories were all over the tech headlines when we taped this last Wednesday. The endorsement of metered internet pricing by the FCC chairman, Julius Jankowski, as in, the more bits you download, the more you'll pay every month, which, as an avid user of Netflix, I'm not entirely thrilled by. Or at least would feel less threatened if there were more competitors in the market for serving me my ration of internet. I actually tried looking around for another provider, and I basically I either use my cable provider or I have to go with some DSL provider.
It's kind of funny, where we live, there's Comcast, there's AT&T DSL, and depending on if they're rolling out, there's some decent competitors to AT&T for DSL, but you really have to work to find them. The problem is for most of America, everybody's like, free market, the internet will take care of itself. I'm free market on a stick. I I absolutely adore capitalism, but the reality is most people are lucky if they have a single source of like broadband in their neighborhood, and if they have two, they're pretty lucky. And this is all part of the impending FCC vote over net neutrality. It's going to take place later this month, and I am getting some fascinating subject lines in my inbox from PR Flax on both sides of the open internet argument. Open internet being the less loaded phrase for net neutrality. Both pretty much arguing that the internet is doomed, and basically the future is doomed. Doesn't matter if the FCC votes for it or against it. We're doomed. I personally prefer the rather calmer words of Consumers Union, the folks that bring you Consumer Reports magazine. They're the ones that test washing machines and computers and stuff. Consumers Groups welcomes pound FCC action on network neutrality. And then there's a little link. I mean, I like that much better than getting an email that like, if they pass this, we're doomed. And if you want a more sophisticated analysis of everything that's going on right now between Comcast and Level 3 arguing over peerage, which is a huge deal at the core of internet and how much it costs you, to Chairman Jankowski looking around going like, yeah, you know what? You use more bits, you should pay more. We're not really going to pay attention to that wireless stuff. A lot of good coverage going on over at gigaohm.com. Check it out.
Definitely. The International Telecommunications Union still says nobody is really offering 4G wireless broadband, but Sprint added Los Angeles, Miami, Washington, D.C., Cleveland, Cincinnati, and Columbus to its list of 4G cities, bringing its total to 68 markets with 4G coverage. That was just in time for Verizon to flip the switch on its version of 4G, Long-Term Evolution, LTE, which hit 38 markets and 60 airports. We're told that's over 100 million folks in the United States. Verizon promises 5 to 12 megabits per second down on the service, which will cost $50 a month with a 5 gigabyte data cap. Bring on the mobile broadband competition. I heard we have WiMAX at our local airport pushing 10 megabits per second, which that's pretty usable.
WiMAX, which is essentially Sprint's 4G, which is essentially my personal Sprint modem that I paid for out of my own money, is not hitting no 10 megabit. Maybe I'll try it at 4 in the morning when I think everyone's asleep.
This was over at the airport too. So.
Yeah, well, I have not tried SFO. I've tried many other locations in the Bay Area, but I will try SFO. We will go to the parking lot of SFO and we will
park at
test
the airport and surf the web.
Surf the web, because it's only been days since I've irritated the authorities, the Department of Homeland Security. Hey, in more cheerful news, more cheerful than me getting arrested by DHS for looking conspicuous, Adobe dropped the latest Flash Beta 10.2 last week, which promises more better use of your GPU thanks to Adobe's Stage Video API. They're talking like close to 0% CPU usage on PCs. This is big news for anybody out there running a home theater PC like Mr. Heron. If you haven't tried it, get the beta at labs.adobe.com/technology/flashplayer10.
Nice.
It was still downloading when I left my computer to come in here.
I will wait for the automated pop-up that says, "Oh, another Flash update's available."
I ain't waiting for crap, dude.
Don't do it. Just do it.
I'm reaching out and grabbing the beta and reducing my CPU consumption now. First question?
I believe we should. Here we go. Hey, it must be winter because fear of static is hitting the Tekzilla crew. Joshua writes in, "Hey, Patrick and Robert, I was wondering if you had any suggestions for an easy and inexpensive product to help release any static charge I have when I go to touch my computer. I tend to be very staticky when I go to work on my computer, and I end up shocking my keyboard or mouse. Then my mouse doesn't work or my keyboard is all funky and it doesn't work properly until I restart my computer. Is there a solution to this problem that doesn't require me to have to ground myself on something metallic every time I go to touch my computer? I try to do this and I forget most of the time. Thanks in advance, signed Joshua in Las Vegas, Nevada." Holy crap, touching your PC and is messing up your mouse and the keyboard?
That's pretty scary,
That's
actually.
a big shock. I mean, you ever teach a little kid about static electricity and they put their socks on and just do a little, and they rock around? Zap.
Yes.
Well, that's a bad problem.
I have a little bit of time before Seamus is ready for that. Here's the thing, right? The drier the room, the more likely you are to build up static. That's why most folks don't get much static until winter starts and the heater goes on, the house warms up, everything dries out, especially if you've got like certain types of heating systems are much drier than others. It's
Totally.
They use basically open flames in your apartment here in San Francisco. They're like freaking 1950s Airstream heaters. And along with blowing growing up, they're really good at drying out everything in the house. And zap, you get static electricity, especially if you have a rug. You live in a desert, Joshua, so you're doubly doomed when it comes to dry air. You have a dry part of the world, and you have the dry season in your house. You could try putting a humidifier in the room where you keep your PC. Getting it somewhere to around 50% will really, really drop the static situation.
Cool. And if you have no cash for a humidifier, put a pan of water in the room or open up the window. Anything to get some air circulating in there to basically increase that humidity. Also, fabric softener on your clothes. That'll at least, for what you're wearing, will help minimize some of the static cling in addition to...
A lot of static is your feet moving across the floor or your shoes moving across the floor. So, different types of shoes may generate more or less static, and different clothes you wear may generate more or less static.
Totally. You got to experiment a little bit. You could also try putting your gear on an anti-static mat. Figure about $20 or so from Newegg or Amazon or Fry's for one that basically will sit on your desk and you can just set the gear on it. So...
in theory, right? Basically, it's like instead of using an anti-static wrist strap, which you're not going to remember to actually put on, probably if you can't remember to touch the case of your PC or touch your desk. The mat sits on your desk, your gear sits on the mat goes to somewhere that's grounded. And do yourself a favor and clear off as much plastic stuff off your desk as possible. As a matter of fact, clear everything off your desk if you can, because little tiny plastic things moving around helps generate static. An anti-static desktop itself, an entire one, would be killer. Which actually has me looking at rolls of anti-static material at antistaticmat.net, the most... don't talk about like focused websites.
There
you thought
you go.
cableorganizing.com was focused. That's probably overkill. But you can get like anti-static floor mats and all sorts of crazy grounding stuff there. I'm really curious if the AC wiring in your house is properly grounded. My experience in the last 3 or 4 apartments I've lived in, grounding and apartment wiring and even a lot of home wiring is really iffy, just because the plug in the wall has the ground pin. There's like 2 slots and a pin. The ground pin is supposed to be tied into wiring that gets hammered into a stake into the earth, hence ground being earth. You might find out if your surge protector might say the house is improperly wired, or better yet, get a ground default receptacle tester and circuit analyzer. It's basically a plug with a bunch of lights on the back. You plug it into the wall, and it'll tell you whether or not the ground is properly wired. If it's not, you need to call the electrician or your landlord to properly ground your outlets, which will help you when using the anti-static mat, and will probably help with the whole computer trying to explode every time you touch it when you're staticky thing.
I'm hoping maybe somebody comes up with a project where maybe Maker Shed or somebody will put together the kit for it, but basically have a little metallic pad where you can just touch it to de-static yourself.
They sell those.
But then have it incorporate like a capacitor to store that electricity and maybe a little light or something too.
Ooh, so over time as you take the static electricity.
If it's happening all the time, put this power to use, man. Maybe you can charge your phone with it.
The problem is it's like freaking 10,000 volts, but it's like, 0.00000000000 amps.
We'll put a blue LED on there so it's blindingly bright then. Done. Okay.
Now that is green thinking.
Hey, it's time to thank one of our sponsors, Nokia. Want a chance to win a new phone like this one? How about $250,000? Nokia and AT&T have launched the $10 million Calling All Innovators North America contest, challenging mobile app and game developers to create the next level of apps for consumers in the United States and Canada for the Nokia N8, like this one, and the Ovi Store using the new Nokia Qt SDK. The contest will have 2 phases, and winners will be selected by app performance in the Ovi Store and a panel of judges. Winners will receive Nokia devices, cash prizes up to $250,000, and potentially even inclusion in a $1.9 million marketing campaign for their app. Last time Nokia was here, we talked about a few apps that caught our eye in the Ovi Store and challenged you to send us your game app ideas for Symbian. Here are a few of the ideas that came in. Eric suggests a deal site aggregator that displays and tracks various sales from those sites, including push notifications when one of these items comes up. And viewer James suggests a location-based app that pulls data from all the major ski resorts in your area and provides you with the alerts for good days to go riding, special events, or good deals at the mountain like hotels, rentals, restaurants, etc. Have more ideas? Get involved in the Calling All Innovators contest at callingallinnovators.com/10M. The Nokia Qt SDK brings the popular Qt Creator IDE from the desktop and embedded worlds to mobile developers, enabling them to build native apps for Symbian devices like the Nokia N8. Developers can submit their apps by January 28th to be involved. Thanks to Nokia for sponsoring the show today.
For those of you who have been following the epic saga of Robert Heron's home theater PC, when we last checked in, he was doing battle with Comcast. And when I say battle, I just mean waiting for the tech to show up and activate his new cable card for a Ceton Infinity TV in
Ceton Infinity 4.
Which is
blah, blah,
basically allowing you to record 4 channels of digital cable simultaneously on your home theater PC.
That I'm doing.
You've been waiting for this thing for like a year.
Took a while to get it in. Apparently, I picked the one vendor who apparently was the most flooded with requests for the product, so it took some time doing. And then they had to get the cable guy to come over and properly light it up for me.
And now you haven't touched your TiVo in like 3 weeks?
I am pretty damn close to video nirvana. It has been about 2 weeks now since I disconnected the TiVo, and I still leave it plugged in so it gets its updates and stays working. But I have made the switch over to my home theater PC running Windows 7. And I got to say, the ability to record 4 channels at once is awesome. Not so much for the fact that I actually need to record 4 channels at once, but for those times when I have, say, 2 recordings going on at once, I can enjoy another live channel. Which is something that used to just bug the crap out of me with my TiVo. Like, I have my season passes rolling away on, say, 2 separate shows, and there's only 2 tuners. Oh, but the football game's on that night. And I have to either stop a recording or something. This just eliminates that.
Did you know you're supposed to buy a second TiVo and stack that up on top of the first one?
I'd rather, why won't my TiVo just record two more streams and anyway, get it on with it. I'm also enjoying Windows 7's Windows Media Center's HD interface that's built into Windows 7. This is basically what's driving my home theater software and the hardware. Basically using that interface. It's just built right into Windows. I love the thumbnails next to my recorded programs. The channel guide list is updated for free. Now, that's really a big impetus for this whole thing. And it has some nice search sort features, like if I only want to see HD programs. In the 2 weeks I've been using it, it did miss 1 recording the other day, and I'm not really sure why that happened. I was tweaking some stuff around.
That have been sort of the legendary ability, in theory, of broadcasters being able to put a flag on their programming that Windows Media Center would honor and refuse to record?
I had that happen when I was trying to record an American football game recently, and every 15 minutes it'd pop up saying, oh, we can't record this, but it would record about 15 minutes and then stop, and then I could always start it up again. So it was kind of bizarre. But it's rare. I don't see too many shows with those kind of restrictions on them. The next step for me really is...
Before we get to the next step, though, there's a couple things we should talk about. One of the things you said is you really like the Windows Media Center interface. We've enjoyed it. Tighter Blu-ray integration would be nice, right?
True. You have to go with a third-party piece of software, but the software will integrate, or at least the 3 main packages I'm aware of, the big ones out there. They'll integrate into Windows Media Center itself.
Are you still using Platinum at home?
Yeah.
Total Media. I'd say Total Media Theater Extreme Platinum Super Edition.
I have their Platinum Edition, which includes basically the full package gives you a nice software up converter for DVDs, which can look really good actually. But I had started off with version 3 of the software, and now they have version 5 out for 3D support, which I haven't upgraded to yet. But the software's $100, so for that Platinum version. So it starts to add up when you start putting all the software packages together.
Well, the software seemed a lot cheaper
the way you want.
when Blu-ray players were like $500 or $800, and now that they're $100 and you get them with a box of popcorn at Walmart, that's not seeming like such a bargain.
Pretty amazing.
How do you feel about, you've been running all of this on top of an Atom processor with the NVIDIA Ion GPU. How's it holding up? Because the reason I said in the opening that the almost ultimate home theaters, you've been making noises about building a more powerful system.
Definitely. For what I'm doing, for single task stuff, even up to recording 4 channels at once, it's been solid. It really, no perceivable slowdowns or lag, but it's when I start to try to do other things on top of that. Like say I have 3 or 4 recordings going on at once, and I want to stream a Blu-ray movie in, and blah, blah, blah. It can start to get, the menus start to slow down a bit, but I'm not like sacrificing quality of recordings or performance. It seems to, Windows Media Center seems to always say, you know what, we're going to make sure the video gets recorded properly, and then we'll take care of everything else. So for that, I'm pretty good. Coming up with ways of controlling stuff, though, is the other thing I'm working on right now. I'm using mostly Bluetooth devices, and I love it. And I'm also using a nice app on my phone from Hippo Remote that provides basically a Windows Media Center control, Windows 7 control. Actually, it'll also work with Apple computers or Linux platforms. Pretty much anything you can install the little software package that goes on the computer part. And then that allows me to tunnel right in over my Wi-Fi network and control very nicely all of the software I'm using.
So no latency issues?
None. Actually, this is the best remote. My $700 smartphone is an awesome remote control. And the next part I'm messing with, and the reason I was talking about upgrading the CPU is for Basically, I found a great app called Remote Potato that one of the
You want to
viewers.
stream everything you've recorded to your phone, don't you?
Remote Potato allows me to tunnel right into my home theater PC, look at all my recordings, schedule recordings, look at the channel guide, start recording, and supposedly before the end of the year, I'll be able to then stream that content directly to my phone. Because Silverlight support currently isn't on the iPhone or on an Android platform. That's the problem I'm running into. And encoding, there's no GPU accelerated encoding that I'm seeing so far, at least, with my Silverlight software that I'm using for Remote Potato. So I have to usually select the lowest quality output when I'm streaming on the internet to, say, a computer. But if I had a faster CPU, I could bump up the quality, probably to full quality. And this is going to be really nice. So basically, anywhere in the world I am, as long as I can have internet access, have decent broadband speeds, I'll be able to pull any of that content or start content. Like, say I'm away and like, oh, I forgot to record the game. Start recording the game, and then a couple seconds later, I can start watching it. And this makes me happy.
So home theater PC is your ultimate set-top box.
So far. And
far.
you know, it's got all the standard stuff too for like Netflix, and I could add, the one thing I probably couldn't get is Vudu. I don't think Vudu makes a PC app yet, but
You can run
They probably
Vudu on
will.
a home theater PC using Boxy, but you can't run the HDX quality stuff on the PC-based version of Boxy, only on the Boxy hardware.
I gotta say, I'm satisfied because this is also integrating all my music, my streaming movie collection, all of it just coming into one box now on top of the TV service. And it doesn't cost me anything other than the cost of a cable card, one cable card. Which
And the
is really
cost of the
nice.
hardware you built up.
That and the cable TV subscription and building the hardware.
How
but
much was that Ceton card?
that Ceton tuner is
Should be Ceton?
$400, and that's the single most expensive part in my computer.
So it's you're probably about $1,000
I
tied
think
up in this thing right
I think
now.
it could separate. The card is $400, and the rest of the computer could be $400. So it's like
Or
there
you
is
could
a little
use
outlay.
An older, an older 2, 3, 4-year-old PC with a decent, relatively recent GPU could actually replace. You could actually recycle an old PC. And
Totally,
get a pretty
totally. And
PC.
I originally built this whole system for its efficiency and compact size. So those were the two overriding characteristics I wanted on the system. So I ended up sacrificing a little bit on the CPU side, but I was assuming that GPU acceleration would be everywhere, but apparently it's taking its time to be deployed in every nook and cranny. But for the Flash stuff, it's great. But it just so happens that one app I'm using, Remote Potato. I think it's remotepotato.com. You can Google it. That's a Silverlight based application, but it's so neat. Just wherever I am, it's like, oh, I forgot to record something. Oh, I like doing it. Kind of like what Sling does, except this is all free software.
It makes him happy. Time for the new Blu-ray releases for the week of December 7th, 2010.
First up, Inception. The Dark Knight director Christopher Nolan brings us this trippy film about dreams and the subconscious. Inspired by movies like The Matrix, Dark City, and Memento, Nolan began working on the script nearly 10 years before the film's eventual release in theaters. This release is also available as a limited edition briefcase gift set exclusively from the WB shop, but it seems they've sold out already through pre-orders, and they say no more will be available. Oh. So we've missed the boat on that one, but you can still get the regular Blu-ray release, which comes with a DVD and a digital copy as well. Speaking of surreal, next up is the Criterion Collection's Videodrome. From director David Cronenberg, this film takes place in Toronto in the mid-'80s and tells the story of a cable station CEO who finds a broadcast signal that does crazy, messed up things to everyone who watches it. Rotten Tomatoes described it as visually audacious, disorienting, and just plain weird. So if you're in the mood for a mind trip and you somehow missed it until now, check it out. Last year, there were rumors swirling of a potential remake, but it's been a good 18 months since that news with no other updates, so take it with a grain of salt. Also released this week, Rush Hour. We've already seen Rush Hour 3 on Blu-ray, and while Rush Hour 2 is nowhere to be seen, this week sees the release of the original. This 1998 buddy cop film follows two polar opposites who have to work together to solve crimes. While the plot isn't exactly original, Jackie Chan and Chris Tucker make this a fun film to watch regardless. This Blu-ray release includes some additional scenes, music videos, and director Brett Ratner's student film from NYU titled Whatever Happened to Mason Reese from 1990. Other releases this week include the 2010 World Series film Texas Rangers vs. San Francisco Giants, Barry Monday, Across the Line, The Exodus of Charlie Wright. Tim Burton's Alice in Wonderland has been available on 3D with Sony TVs, and now it's being released on its own. Attack on Pearl Harbor, 70th Commemorative Edition. Beyoncé, I Am World Tour. The Criterion Collection's Kronos. Harpoon, Whale Watching Massacre. Pardon my French, but Les Gamins. Lost in Translation. Mademoiselle Chambon. Nature, Echo, An Elephant to Remember from PBS. Shrek Forever After, Blu-ray only. Shrek Forever After, Blu-ray plus a DVD. Shrek, The Whole Story, all 4 movies together in a box set. The Year of Getting to Know Us. And on Saturday, December 4th, we saw a few Twilight-related releases. Music from the Twilight Saga, Videos and Performances Volume 1. The Twilight Saga Eclipse Combo Pack. And the Twilight Saga Eclipse Movie Only Edition.
Let's take a moment to thank one of our sponsors, Belkin. Belkin's Play N600 wireless router has the power to stream HD video seamlessly to all your devices anywhere in your home. The Play N600 does more than connect your devices, it makes them better. Game systems turn into media players. Printers print without wires, hard drives become wireless servers. It even finishes downloading large files to a hard drive at home after you've shut down your computer or taken it with you. Learn more at belkin.com/unleash.
Looks like it's time for another websites we just can't get enough of. A website that we just can't stay away from because it's too useful, too funny, or just too darn irresistible. This week's pick? PublicDomainFlix.com. At a time when studios, startups, and moneyed middlemen are looking for new ways to sell you old TV shows, movies, and webcasts, it's comforting to know that there are places like PublicDomainFlix.com. As the name suggests, the video content you find on this site is all in the public domain. No fees, no subscriptions, no credit cards involved. Just pick a flick from one of 6 categories: action, sci-fi, documentary, drama, and MST3K. Click on the title and you'll be instantly whisked to YouTube, Blip TV, or Google videos, windowed, ensconced in a 70s style TV bezel. You can leave comments, share your thoughts on Twitter, Facebook, or Dig, and report if a video link has gone dead. The quality is average standard definition quality, no high-def imagery here. And while the content might be dated, you'll quickly realize that true entertainment has no shelf life. So grab your favorite munchies and plop down in front of the screen and see what people watched for entertainment back in the day.
Kevin sent us this rather familiar sounding complaint. He wrote in, I recently purchased my first big, beautiful 1080p HD TV. I've been using the DVI out on my MacBook Pro to connect the HDMI input on the TV. The problem is, or his problem is, when I turn on the overscan feature in Snow Leopard's display preferences, the image stretches beyond the frame of the TV and it gets cut off. When I turn overscan off, the image is too small and leaves black bars on all 4 sides. Is there any way to just display the right size image for the TV? Kevin in Minneapolis, you need to know about pixel, well, basically like per pixel or pixel matching or
proper
a couple
pixel,
things. Proper resolution.
Overscan. It's good for basically clipping the picture and making things look soft. It's the bane of my existence. Ensure that the MacBook Pro's video output is configured for the 1080p 60 format. If you have a 1080p TV, you should be sending it a 1080p 60 format to match it right. This may also be listed as 1080p 59 hertz as well, or it might not even say hertz. Also check the TV's overscan settings. I think this is your real problem.
Yeah.
You're looking for a picture size control and you want to set it to something labeled just scan or native mode or dot by dot. See, what I think is that your TV is overscanning whatever overscanning whatever video is being fed to it.
Kick its ass.
Or you might actually not have it set up to output the 1080p signal to the TV, so the TV is then scaling it, or something is scaling it to not stretch completely. But when you turn on your overscan, it's overstretching it.
Right.
So basically, just ensure that the MacBook is set up for 1080p output, the TV is set to do a 1-to-1 pixel match, and life should be good.
Yeah, if your TV is pixel matched, it should solve this. If your TV had been like 3 years old, I'd probably say you're doomed, because a lot of older TVs automatically did overscan because for some reason the engineers designing the firmware were like, we should do this the way we did analog TVs for 40 years. And you don't want to do that. Overscan.
Or even some of the earlier 1080p TVs too. If you fed it a 720p signal, it would overscan it and offer you no way to correct that. But with 1080p signals, you usually could. So why they do it for one HD format and not the other? Thank goodness a lot of these things have gone by the wayside with new hardware.
Quality time with the remote, you should be able to turn the overscanning off inside the television, make yourself happy.
Yarmo from Finland emailed in asking, I currently have a Fun Plus with OpenWRT. It's okay, but I need a better performing router. It should have 8 megabytes or more. I'm tired of all those extra small, nothing included versions of OpenWRT or DDWRT. So I've been searching a lot, but there are too many wireless routers out there. I want to be able to install OpenWRT or DDWRT to that router. Ideally, it should work as an SSH server, tunneling, and have a USB port for network accessible HDD hard disk drive, or sharing my 3G from my phone to my WLAN, my wireless LAN, and maybe Apache 2, etc. for having a little website. I watched your episode of Fonera 2.0 and it was great. Have you guys any ideas which wireless router to buy? Price isn't that big of an issue. Hopefully under 200 euros. Which routers you have? Signed, Jarmo in Finland.
Wow. Okay, first of all,
Or Yarmo, excuse me.
for people who aren't familiar with it, OpenWRT, DDWRT are open source firmware, basically like Linux kernels that have been adopted to run on consumer router boxes.
Cool. So you can basically take advantage of that little CPU in there and run some cool code on it?
Yeah, basically you wipe out the factory firmware, you put this stuff on there, and especially for like the classic was the Linksys routers, like Linksys WRT routers, the WRT54G, and then they redid it. Basically, they make them for dozens of routers now, and the reason Yarmo is so concerned about the router having enough space to do a full version of OpenWRT is that they basically did these sort of microscopic small footprint installs that were like, we can kind of run your router, we just can't do any of the cool stuff you put us on here for. So here's the thing. I think, Yarmo, it's time you thought about stepping up from running OpenWRT to running a dedicated full-on PC with SmoothWall or IPCOP, because there's some amazing basically modified Linux installations that are designed to function like big, cool guy, expensive router firewall networking boxes. You also need to roll over to openwrt.org, click on the wiki link, and then look at the gigantic list of supported devices. My current favorite router, Netgear's WNDR 3700, is supported by OpenWRT, and they've got full instructions for stuffing OpenWRT into that router. If memory serves, tethering your 3G phone to OpenWRT is a gigantic question mark, and it really, answering that is based on the phone you're running and the carrier. But attaching a USB drive and using that Linksys box with OpenWRT to use it as a NAS box shouldn't be a problem. Instructions are in there. The USB ports on the WNDR 3700 are supported. Just do me a favor. Don't run Apache on your router. That's the kind of thing that makes my security hacker friends cry. If you're relying on a device to do security and protect your home network, don't put don't put an HTML server. Just don't. Don't. Please don't. No. Stop, Yarmo. So,
unless you want to.
Yeah, in which case, if your entire home network gets pillaged by a bored Finnish teenagers cruising around your local network, that's all on you, man. Coming up next, we got, more viewer questions. Right now, though, it's time to thank one of our sponsors, HostGator. Looking for a place to launch your blog or your website? Frustrated with customer support at your current hosting provider? Go with HostGator and get up and running in minutes. Plans start at just $4.95 a month, and you get top-rated 24/7 customer support, access to tools, including a website builder with over 4,000 templates, and HostGator will even migrate your current site for zero, nada, free. HostGator servers are 130% powered by wind energy, which I'm pretty sure means it's completely green web hosting. You'll get unlimited disk space, unlimited bandwidth, a 45-day money-back guarantee, and a $100 Google AdWords credit to market your website. Now, if you're a Tekzilla viewer, HostGator is offering you 20% off your order or your first month for free. Go to HostGator.com and enter in the code TekzillaHD at checkout, and you'll score that big, fat discount. Check it out, people, if you need a better place to host your stuff. Danny recently sent us a follow-up question. He says, Robert mentioned he has a cell phone jammer. If I wanted to use it in a cinema, which one do you recommend? And don't forget to tell me the best and the cheapest options. Danny in beautiful Provo, Utah. Danny,
did I say I'm in possession of a cell phone jammer? Did I say that?
You were talking about borrowing my cell phone jammer, which is not mine. It just showed up in our offices one day.
Ah, is that what that is?
Yeah, if I hit the button, it blocks many, if not all, phone networks. Not all, but most of the phone
lots of bad
networks.
things to wireless devices.
Yeah.
Hey, at least here in the United States, hardware that jams cell phone signals is illegal to operate, and it might even be illegal to own. That said, dealextreme.com.
/ details. /
You have to buy it out of the country and kind of like get it in here.
Yeah, if you have a friend that travels overseas and perhaps wanders through Hong Kong or Taiwan or South Korea.
They make it easy. You can get anything on the internet.
It's and they do work. Just do me a favor, don't use this or you'll get your ass kicked by the FCC or
Maybe.
somebody really angry when their conversation with their girlfriend gets stopped and you hit the little button.
I hear it comes with a really nice recharger, and it's got a good battery pack in there, and I don't know anything else about it. So.
Yeah, there's nothing worse than finding out the nice young man sitting in front of you in the theater is actually a trained professional with a badge with the ability to arrest you for doing things that irritated him.
Hey, Caleb emailed us asking, I have multiple questions and one problem I need help with. First, the questions. How long will it be until 4K displays hit the market, and how much do you think it will cost when they do hit store shelves? Will they be LCD, plasma, LED, or some new type of display technology? And finally, is it true that you have to be within a certain viewing distance to see the 4K difference?
Pause.
Okay.
Let's just start with that half of the question. One, we have no idea. Two, we don't even know if there's going to be any content for a 4K monitor anywhere other than YouTube when they do ship.
Good point.
Three, they're going to cost about as much as your car. Four, true, it's going to be LCD because plasma is pretty much going to be kicked to the side of the road. It's possible that it could be a plasma, but I'm betting money on LED LCDs by that point, having taken over pretty
Now the
much
plasma
everything
guys are going to do it just to spite you.
Yeah. Well, or maybe they'll finally get OLED.
No,
you know.
that's just going to go away. That just never materialized. We've seen these displays. They show them last couple of years. We've seen prototype samples at CES in Las Vegas, and I imagine in another month when we're back there again, we're going to see the latest iterations of these.
Wow. Look at that eagle soaring. I can see the individual mites chewing on the eagle's feathers now.
Pixels are good.
Right.
Pixels are good. And of course, today you could buy a 4K front projector.
Right.
Sony makes a really nice one. I'm not even sure what the price is. I saw a 10 megapixel projector for $100,000. I don't think the Sony is that expensive. 4K, what does that mean? It's really just referring to the horizontal resolution of the picture. Essentially 4,000 pixels wide, roughly 4096 if you want to be specific.
Double your 1080p lifestyle.
Double the resolution that way, but it's also, if you did that in 16 by 9, it'd be 4x the resolution of your standard 16 by 9 1080p flat panel. Yeah. I predict that we'll actually see products again at CES, but I bet you by 2012 you'll see something in the store above 1080p.
Interesting.
Yeah.
You think it'll be that soon?
I think it's coming.
What's the content source going to be?
Well, that's a whole other question.
That's a whole other ball of weasels. And in terms of the Kell factor says the higher the resolution, the more comfortable your eyes will be sitting closer to the screen. If you're going to be 15 feet away from it, 4K is probably wasting your money unless it's a really huge screen.
How far away can you put a piece of newsprint and still read it?
Right.
That's about as far away as you should be. If you really, it is remarkably close how close you have to be to a screen to see the full resolution on the latest high resolution displays.
Yeah, far end of a sports bar, 720p looks awful good. Hey, second, my problem is I have all my music stored as waves on a 500 gigabyte hard disk drive. I'm slowly moving them onto my PS3, but the PS3 doesn't recognize all the ID tag info for WAV files, just the track name. Do you know of any other way I can listen to 100% lossless music with all the ID tag info and album art without manually entering everything in? Caleb! To be honest with you, the easiest way to do what you want would be to keep your WAV files on a separate machine and stream them to your PS3 over your network using something like Diversity, because WAV as a file format was never designed to store ID3 type information. It wasn't, you can see the title of the track and you're not going to see anything else because all that other information is basically stored in another part of the file or associated with that file by the application you used to create it.
Totally. And apparently there used to be lossless audio support within the PlayStation 3, but a recent update removed that.
Well, it's more like, that's actually a whole different thing, right? Because you look at the 3.5.
If that's true, that makes no sense to me.
Well, it's kind of funny, right? Blu-ray 3D playback was enabled, but there were limitations on it. When Dolby True HD is selected as the audio format, output will be in Dolby Digital during playback of Blu-ray 3D content. When DTS HD is selected as the audio format, audio will be output in DTS during playback of Blu-ray 3D content.
They broke that too.
So it's not like, the problem is the PS3, I don't think the PS3 is going to play Apple lossless. I don't think the PS3 is going to play FLAC, either of which would have the ID3 type information you want as part of the file format. WAV predates MP3s, so they didn't really think about, we need to put a special header inside the file that actually allows us to track this information.
I hate to say it, but I think if you want the tag information, you'll have to compress the audio a little bit. And I would go on AAC. I would do a listening test because I was using Nero's AAC encoder for a while, and I found that I finally did an A/B listening test with MP3s at a similar bit rate and OGG files, OGG Vorbis audio files, and I put the AAC encodes at the bottom of the bucket. Maybe there's a better AAC encoder out there that does better encodes than the one I was using, but I ended up going with OGG, but OGG won't play, and then I would say go back to just MP3. So it's going to work with MP3.
Yeah, I'm tempted to tell you to move these files or convert these files into another format and stream them with Diversity. If you have an idea, that'll help our man here get his lossless audio onto his PS3. Do us a favor, email us techzilla@revision3.com. Now, a couple weeks ago, we were looking at VoIP hardware that didn't need a computer. Ryan's got some helpful advice. He says, I use NetTalk, and it's great. It's $70 for the device in the first year and $29.95 for each additional year. I bought the device when it originally came out for $100, and it came with free lifetime service. It can even send and receive faxes, and you can plug it into your phone wall jack and provide phone for all of the phone jacks wherever you are. Only downfall, VoIP to VoIP calls can lag as much as 2 seconds.
What?
Ryan in Latrobe, PA. So I guess you want to use that to call people on their real phones, not to call people on other VoIP lines.
I'm just having flashbacks to my AT&T service here in the Bay Area, and sometimes it feels like I'm on a VoIP call. Actually, my call quality is better on VoIP. Never mind. Off topic.
We do like UMA. Magic Jack requires a PC.
True.
Ryan, thank you for your suggestion. NetTalk people, check it out. Hey, for everybody watching, we love on your questions. Do us a favor, email us, techzilla@revision3.com. Tech help, product reviews, how-tos. You ask us, we'll do it. But we need those emails, so don't be shy. Send them into techzilla@revision3.com.
Hey, even better, send us a video question. Hey, think of all the fun you can have and the admiration of all your friends and family when they see your mug on the show. Just keep it to 15 seconds, upload to YouTube, and send us the link in an email with video question in the subject line. And as always, you can find us on YouTube at youtube.com/techhd. Thank you so much for watching.
I'm Patrick Norton.
And I'm Robert Heron.
Until next time, you've been watching TechZilla.
Mademoiselle, Chambon? Okay. Mademoiselle Chambon. Blah, 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 blah.
Close to, do you want me to redo it or do you want to follow me?
All right. Hey, 2 stories we're all over the tech headlines when we tape this.
2 stories
sorry.
we're all over.
But Sprint added, okay.
Sorry.
SSH server. I'm suddenly like, what?
And pick it up. The 45-day money day guarantee. Yeah, because we had this
Yarmo.
conversation. You asked him if he made speakers. I said it's Yarmo, not Yamo, and then you went and typed in Yamo instead of Yarmo. Whatever.
I don't want to offend Finland.